Hello guys, I'm sorry that I made no intro this time for you, but I'm sure you will be very happy that we start now with the extruder press himself. I went to a metal working company. I made mainly the parts by myself in their company and I learned a lot, and I can tell you it isn't expensive. The extruder would be nothing without the part where we produce the filament. In this video we show you how we build the heart of the extruder. My name is Ron and I'm the Betatester of Werbewunder's Desktop Filament Extruder. Today we will build the heart of the extruder and start with the barrel. It's the part where the granulate melts inside the barrel. The heat comes from the heating sleeves and then presses it through the nozzle with a lot of pressure by the screw. But before we start, let me remind you that you also have to press the bell icon when subscribing. Otherwise you won't be reminded when the next video part of the extruder come out. So a lot of people ask us by email when the next video will come out and when we release something. So because that I say press the bell icon when you're subscribing. Then you get informed by YouTube when the next video comes out. So let's get started. So at first I want to show you with my 3Ds which parts you need. So the first is you need a metal bracket. So if you don't have a metal bracket, which I recommend, you can also use two metal plates and weld them together. So the bigger plate has a dimension of 100 by 100 millimeters, and the smaller plate is 50 millimeter long and 10 millimeter wide. The next part is a tube, the barrel in this case. So the most important diameter is the inner diameter, it's 20 mils. The outer diameter is 30 mils and the thickness is 5 mils. What we else need is a smaller plate which comes on top of the tube later, and it holds the funnel. Dimensions are 50 millimeters by 55 millimeters, and the thickness is also 6 millimeters, but that isn't important. Now let me show you how you have to bring it together, because though it's way easier than if you would do it in the other direction. So you can start with the L-shaped plate or with two single plates that you have to weld together. As next you have to make a hole inside. It has a diameter of 20 mils. As next we need 4 holes. The dimension is in this case 4 millimeters or an M4. Where you bring them on isn't so important. A little bit outside is okay because in the mid we will connect later the tube. So in my case I have no inner thread in this 4 holes because I will connect it to a metal plate, an aluminium plate, and so I don't need it. Now let's come to the tube. The first thing we have to do is to make on the one end an inner thread. The inner thread dimensions are 22 by 1.5. So for this we need a fine thread. On this picture from Wikipedia, which I found, you can see very good that screws can have very different thread types. So it's important that you find the right one, and the one we need is an M22 by 1.5 inner thread cutter. So now we come to the tube. Now we bring the smallest plate, which I showed you in the beginning, 50 mils by 55 mils, on the tube, and we weld it. Before I recommend now make 4 holes outside on each edge, and it's easier when you make it before you weld it on the tube. In my animation it's in the wrong order, but it's possible. I made it, but I made the mistake and I recommend not to do it in this way. So make 4 holes before you weld it on the tube. The plate you have to make on the opposite end of the tube where you have the thread. Means what you see now is where we will bring the L-shaped form on it, and on the right side what you see now we have the inner thread. Okay, then you make a long hole, how we call it in Germany. The point is you need a 30 millimeter drill, and you make side by side several holes with a 30mm drill till you reach the distance of 45 mils. And when you have it, you cut it out so that it looks like here. But if you have a lathe, then it should be way easier. But it works even if you don't have a lathe. So, and now the last part is to connect the tube, not where the inner thread is, do it from the opposite side to the L-shaped metal plate. So, and now you come to the fun part. That means you have to work on the inside of the tube with 120 grit paper till it's smooth. Then you go to the next level, which is 180 grit paper. Then you go to the next level, which is 240 grit paper. And then you go to the next level, 320 grit paper. So the easiest way is to use a cordless screwdriver or an Akku screwdriver. Use a rod or a threaded rod as you like. I had only a threaded rod, and connect the grit paper with the rod with a tape, and then round it around the rod and smooth everything as good as possible. Really, as more you do it, as better the results will be later, and as less the filament screw has to do later, and Werbewunder told me it pays off later. So as more work you put inside to get it as smooth as you can, as better results you get later. Okay, use a little bit oil on the sandpaper, it helps a lot, and if you have it, you are really done. Now let me show you how my result is. So it means my barrel. I made it in a metal workshop. I showed them my sketch and I asked them if they could do it for me. They asked me if I want to do it by myself because they have no time. I said yes. They showed me how to weld. They showed me how to cut. They showed me everything, and what not was allowed is to film because that was not allowed. But I can tell you, I paid €35 for it. I gave them 40 because I was so thankful to learn everything from them. So, but it has a disadvantage. My barrel doesn't look very professional. So I had never before welded. I had never used before such machines, but I really can recommend that to everyone. Ask if you can do it by yourself. Get the experience, it's really awesome, and you are more proud of the end result than they would do it for you. So let me say one thing about the steel from the tube. The tube will have later a lot of pressure inside because the screw tries always to bring the granulate to the nozzle, and that makes a lot of pressure inside. So try to get the hardest steel for the tube you can get, really. The hardest steel, okay? So now let's see how Werbewunder is doing the barrel in his workshop. So before you think, hey, why he starts in this order, let me tell you, Werbewunder told me to show you in which order it is the best way to start. He is very experienced and he has a different sequence, and if he makes mistakes, he knows how to fix it. So the best way or the best order is that what he showed me and which I showed you. So let's look how he is doing the single parts, and here you can see he is using the drill. He makes several holes inside, side by side, to get the long hole. Very important here is to use always a lot of oil for the drill, otherwise it will break or overheat. The drill size, by the way, is 13 millimeters. I made the same after I drilled the holes, but I made it with a grinding machine or polisher, and the results you saw, not so smooth as his results, but it worked, and he said after I showed him the pictures, it's total okay. Now he is doing a step which I have forgotten. He makes an edge for the French. Later you can use it to get the nozzle easier off and on. Means he used two French, and one is holding the nozzle and one holds the barrel, and that is way easier to get the nozzle off and on. I have to do it by myself later or these days, I don't know when, but it's very helpful. Otherwise you have to use pliers. Now we come to the inner thread. That is, as I told you, M22 by 1.5. Now he tests if the nozzle will fit later or not, and if it fits, then it's ready on this side. Now we come to the small plate part. Here he drills first holes inside and bring it to a long hole, but as he told me, weld it first on the tube and then make all at once. So now he makes the 4 holes, which I showed you before. They are M4. Now he makes the inner thread for the M4 holes, and after it he starts to weld everything together. Now he welds the L-shaped metal to the tube. Important is here that the L-shaped metal has a 90 degrees to the barrel in all directions, so that the screw can turn into the barrel easily and that the barrel is horizontal to the ground. I let the video play so slowly because so you can really see how important it is, even for Werbewunder, to make it as accurate as possible. And that it is. Guys, I have one question for you. I'm personally very interested in a really serious CNC machine. I mean, not one which is shaky or which is cheaply built. I mean, really serious. So, Werbewunder told me it is only possible to make if you spend around 1000 euro. So, what you get out, he said, is a 5000 euro CNC machine which you can buy. Means there is near no tolerances and so on. And I would really love to see how he is doing it and to rebuild it, but it makes no sense if it's only for me. So let me know in the comments if you would love to see it also, or to rebuild it, or you're interested in, or if you have other ideas. I will wish you much success with your own extruder. Until the next time. Bye bye.